question a lot of Christians struggle with is about Jesus not knowing the hour of his return. You might believe Jesus is God, but a passage like that totally throws you off. My video today will remove all that negative tension you have, because it's easy to avoid it. But we don't need to do this as Christians. Jesus was doing something completely different, and I'll walk you through it step by step. First, let's read the passage, then I'll break it down, then I'll give you an alternative view, and then I'll talk about the word "know" in the Bible, and I'll wrap up today's video with 2 verses that build on my original case. Mark chapter 13, verse 32 says, "But of that day and hour knows no man, not the angels which are in heaven, neither the Son, but the Father." When you read this verse alone, it can be difficult to understand. But when you read the surrounding verses, you can see what Jesus is doing. He is not removing his knowledge. He is claiming sonship and doing something far greater. Jesus gives the people many specific signs about what will happen at his return to gather his bride, the church. He explains in much detail, but then all of a sudden stops and says, "No one knows the hour but the Father." Jesus was doing something the Jews understood, but many of us today do not. It was the Jewish custom during a wedding for the groom to go to his father's house and build an extension. This would be where the newlyweds would live. Think to Jesus saying in John's Gospel, he goes to prepare a place for us. There are many rooms and mansions, etc. Once the extension's built, the tradition was the father of the groom would declare it's time to go and get the bride. This wasn't because the son, the groom, didn't know it was time, but it was custom, the respect and honor given to the father to make the announcement. When Jesus said this, he was showing he was the son, and the Jewish listener would understand this well. Now you understand it well, knowing the Jewish tradition. There's more that I want to say to help you grasp this well. Some Christians don't know about this tradition and take the approach, Jesus was God, but Jesus was also a man as well. Christ had 2 natures. Christ increased in learning, as it says in Luke chapter 2. Christ got tired, he ate, he slept. Philippians chapter 2 says he emptied himself. This could be something we say. He limited himself in his human nature. This does not cover every aspect, but is one many Christians are happy to use. But let me build more on my first answer, because this is the stronger interpretation. Jesus is using the Jewish custom to present himself as the Son of God. He would be using the word "know" here in a different context. It would not be the context of, I don't know something because I'm lacking information, but it would be something different. The rest of the Bible leads us this way, and I'll show you why. First, there are other usages of the word "know" in the Bible. For example, Adam knew Eve, his wife, in Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. Adam knew Eve before this, but Moses is using the word "know" as a euphemism for intimate relations in marriage. In the New Testament, 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 2 uses "know" in a context of priority. Paul says, "For he determined not to know anything among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified." He prioritized salvation over everything else. Are you saved or not? He didn't mean, I don't know anything else about you people in Corinth. In context, what he's saying here is clear. All these other things were not significant. Words have meaning, and the context of the words help us understand the meaning too. I want to cover 2 more passages which also prove Jesus wasn't limiting his knowledge and proving he was not God. The first example is before Christ gets crucified. This is in John chapter 16, verse 29. His disciples said unto him, "Lo, now speakest thou plainly, and speakest no proverb. Now are we sure that you know all things, and needest not that any man should ask you. By this we believe that you camest forth from God." This is the same word in the Greek for "know" as in Mark chapter 13, verse 32. This shows context matters, as I like to say. The disciples are saying they believe Jesus knows all things. Jesus' response is funny. He says in the next verse, "Do ye now believe?" As if he expected them to know much earlier. Then again, in John's Gospel, in chapter 21, listen to what Peter says to Jesus. This is after his resurrection. This is the 3rd time Jesus has asked Peter, "Do you love me?" He saith unto him the 3rd time, "Simon of Jonas, lovest thou me?" Peter was grieved because he said unto him the 3rd time, "Do you love me?" And he said unto him, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you." Jesus says unto him, "Feed my sheep." Take confidence in these passages and let this breakdown help you understand this passage going forward. If you have anything more in regards to the Bible you want me to help you understand, let me know. God bless.